Yeah, absolutely delighted. It's a real honour. I can't wait to get across there and get started and meet the players and start building towards, getting the team on the field and starting to compete again. So yeah, absolutely delighted. I think it was twofold really. One, from a personal perspective, I was looking to develop further as a coach, and I wanted to challenge myself at another level by becoming a head coach within a senior environment. I've held a couple of roles through a pathway, so at various different age groups, and I think the next step for me in terms of my organic development as a coach was to then become a head coach, which I felt now was the time that I was ready for. So that was kind of the personal part of it. But I think from a professional perspective as well, the very important bit for me is just how passionate the nation is in terms of this sport. I spent a lot of time analysing and watching players, within not only playing for Trinidad in historic games and historic footage that I saw, but also within their club environments or their college environments at the moment. And it really excited me, the standard of players that are available there. And I thought, this is something that I think I can make an impact in. I can help move us back up the rankings, both within FIFA and CONCACAF. So yeah, I thought it was an exciting challenge, and one that I certainly couldn't wait for. So I was delighted when I had the opportunity to interview, and then obviously further down the line, here we are, and it's about to get announced, and away we go.
Definitely. What do you make of women's football in CONCACAF? Obviously, you're aware that we do possess some of the powerhouses in women's football with the US national team, Canada as well. What do you make of the composition of the teams that you will have to come up against in CONCACAF?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. As you said, you look at the top two teams. They're some of the best teams in the world. Well, America are the best team in the world. So, it's going to be extremely difficult when we compete against those. But then that would be the same in whatever nation I was working for. It's going to be difficult to compete with America. So it's a challenge. It's exciting. As you said, there's a wide variety of teams and standards and abilities within the region. And I think the one thing where it will really challenge me as a coach, and it's the part that really excites me, is the fact that I need to be very flexible in terms of my game plan, because game plan against one opponent might need to be very different when you're playing somebody else further up the rankings. So that was something that's excited me, in terms of you've got to find a way, you've got to plan, you've got to be completely detailed in terms of the individual opponent you're playing against, because it is going to be very, very different depending upon who we come up against.
Yeah, surely. What, on a closing note, what is a message you'd want to leave with the stakeholders in women's football, in Trinidad and Tobago football on a whole, and potentially some of your future players in terms of as they anticipate your arrival and your injection into the program?
Yeah, I think it's the hard work starts now, and I think everybody needs to. First of all, I think everybody needs to unite. The women's team hasn't played for a while, which that's something we need to change. We need to reignite that fire within the players, to get them playing again, to get them wanting to represent and being able to step forward and represent the country. But we need to get the country behind us as well to support us. So I think that's the most important thing, is for players, for staff, for members of the committee within the Ttfa, we need to be prepared for hard work. We need to drive standards forward. We can't accept the standards as they are today. We have to make them better tomorrow, and then every day later we need to be better than we were the day before. We can't stand still. We have to constantly develop, and we've got to push the boundaries in terms of the levels of professionalism and standards that are expected. And we've got to make it an honour for our players to pull that jersey on and to represent us. And as a nation, we really need to move forward in terms of the women's football, and give us some success. Yeah, I've done a lot of research of the more recent squad. In terms of those that have played within the previous games, those that are still available to me in terms of selection. I've done, for the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at footage and doing a lot of analysis work in terms of individual players. So yeah, I've been starting to build my picture on what those players are, what the areas that they're really, really good at, because there are an awful lot of positives that I've seen. the areas that we need to work on as a team and as a collective and as a national team program. And I don't think that's just the seniors. I think that's the entire pathway from domestic all the way through to the senior national team. I think we need to push those standards forward. So yeah, I've been doing my homework quietly in the background, and like I said at the start, I'm really keen to get over there as soon as I possibly can, and start getting to meet the players, get on the field, and start to impact our game plan as soon as we possibly can.